day of the week. I got a whole week, and I'm going to paint this thing. I'll be back every day until I get this done. And each day I came back, each day some leaves fell. By Friday, the tree was bare. It was all on the ground. So I said, well, you got to be a little faster than this. So when you're outdoors, you have to learn to work a little faster. Okay, so we're going to simplify things so that we can move along and maybe not take that long. I don't think I want to go that dark with that. Let's go back in here. This is the foundation. If you build a house, you're going to build the foundation first, and then you build on that. And so we're going to build the foundation here. And we're putting the foundation in, or the underpainting in. That's what we're doing at this point. Okay. Let's see, what do we want to use in here? Let's start with this. Some of the dunes grasses. The marram grasses. The marram grass, they're the sand grippers. They're the grasses that come up when it's just plain sand. And they grow and they find some nourishment and they'll put down roots and they grab that sand and they hold it. And if nothing disturbs it, eventually they'll take over the dune. And pretty soon it won't be a living dune, it'll be a grass-covered dune. However, if you have a dune like this one is, Mount Baldy, the wind comes through there and it sculpts these things, and so we have a kind of a contest between the grasses and the sands as to who's going to win, you know, and things happen. And this, the marram grass is quite adapted to that. It can be buried and keep popping up, and it sets down these roots, and these roots become a net that holds the sand and begins to hold it. And another thing that will do that is interesting is the cottonwood tree. A cottonwood tree can stand there and be buried little by little as this sand comes up and buries this tree, and it'll grow up above that, keep growing and grow its roots, and eventually often the vegetation will win and take over, but not always. Okay, let's see, what do we want here? Let's lay in something for the sandy area. Okay, I don't want to just put sand and put shadow over the sand. The shadow is a different color than the sand, and so I'm going to put a different color in where the shadow is. And again, these are just basic foundational colors. I never know when I start a painting what the final color needs to be, because do you know what simultaneous contrast is? Anybody know what simultaneous contrast is?
Well, the two complements, for example, on the color wheel, when juxtaposed, make each other brighter. Like a red next to a green will have an effect on...
What she's saying, that one color has an effect on another. Exactly. You put one color next to another, and the other color looks different. And it happens to you, and I know it's happened to you. Maybe you didn't have a name for it, but it happens to you. You mix up a color on your palette if you're working with oils or pastel, and you put it up here, and you say, this is just right, and you put it up there, and you say, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Looked good on the palette, though, didn't it? But it didn't look good next to the other color. So we have to deal with that. That's some of the things that we have to deal with painting, because every time we put a color down, something that's next to it makes it look different. So we have to have a way to deal with that. And if we block in colors, we simplify and block in colors, a ballpark color, so to speak, you know, a ballpark figure they talk, or whatever they say, well, just a color that we're guessing at. We put that in because we want to have an idea of what another color is going to look like. Well, we don't know what it's going to look like when it's against white, so we're going to block in colors. And I'm not going to consider a color the final color until the last stroke is made, and maybe not even then, because I might come back the next day and say, gee, I think that ought to be a little different. All right, up in the sky. Let's just put some pink under the sky. You know, skies aren't pink, but if it's a day with some sun in the sky, the sun is warm, isn't it? And blue is cold. So if you put blue there, you're going to have a cold sky. Well, how are you going to make a warm sky? I like to put warmth under the sky and then put my cool colors over the top of it. And it helps me to keep it warm, maybe because it shows through, or maybe because it makes me do something else with the colors I put on top of it. So I start with something like this. We're going to fill in the whole thing. We're going to get something like this, I think. Let's see. Let's get a little bit more color on here before we go to water. Maybe I ought to get a little bit more into here yet. The beauty of doing this with water, which you'll see me do next, is, you know, when you work with pastels, you can overlay, you put one color over another, but it comes to a point where you can't put any more on when you fill up the painting, the paper. You know about that? Okay. The beauty of this is it spreads the pastel around and it doesn't fill up the paper too much. And that's what I'm going to do now. We're going to start using some water. Sure. Lake water if you're out there. Okay. So, if I would take this and do this, what would happen? It would all smear together and we'd have all just a mess, wouldn't we? No. Who asked that? Will it work on any paper? Not necessarily. If you have used the Ersta paper, which is hard to find anymore, they usually use turpentine or turpenoid on it. They don't usually use water. You can, but it kind of buckles and doesn't work as well. But on this paper, you can do all kinds of things with this paper. You really can. It's just phenomenal.
What is your source for walnut paper?
Catalogs. You can get them, a lot of your catalogs will carry them. Yeah, they've got them. Who?
Cheap Joe?
I don't know. Cheap Joe's may have it. Jerry's, they got it. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to start, and we're going to just kind of fill in a little bit, move this pastel around, and just get it all covered. See? Now the whole idea of this is doing a preliminary painting so that you know where you're going, and it's pretty quick, too. Also makes you feel like you're painting with oils or watercolors or whatever else, because you got a brush up here, and so you're doing a little of both. Kind of fun to do that. I'm going to work from the lightest color to the darkest because I have to clean my brush out in between each color. But as I go to the darker ones, maybe I would rather not work the other way and try to get dark color out and work on light color, because then I may have a mess. So I'm going to kind of work with the lights to the darks when I'm putting my water on here. So as I go to each from one color to another, I'm going to clean my brush enough that I'm not just carrying one color to the other all the time. I think so. I don't know about oil pastel. You'd probably want to use turpentine with oil pastel. I would imagine you might have a problem there. I don't know for sure. Never tried it. I don't use oil pastel, so I don't know how that would work. benefit of the tape, I should be repeating these questions. She asked would it work with oil pastel, and my answer is I don't know about the oil pastel. But it will work with any kind of dry pastel. It will work. Mm-hmm. Doesn't hurt to tighten these things up.
Question about the paper.
Mm-hmm.
You said it was Wallace.
Wallace paper.
Is there a particular grade or number of paper?
They have two grades. They have museum and professional. The difference between the two is one is price. Of course, the museum grade is higher price. Both are archival. I think, I'm not sure the big difference. I think the museum grade is a little heavier weight paper, a little bit. And I don't know whether there's any other major difference or not. I don't.
Does it have the same tooth to it? Does it have the same tooth?
Same tooth. Mm-hmm.
You know, usually people, or often people who do pastels work on a kind of a, not a dark background exactly, but at least a tinted background. Do you ever do that, or do you only start out with something pure white?
Well, the Wallace paper is always white. And that's the only paper I use. There are papers, of course, that are tinted. They're a different kind of a paper. But I like the sanded surfaces. And I don't like to make my own. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't want to do it. I want to start in. I want to paint. So I don't want to be involved with making paper. And they do such a good job with this paper. Kitty Wallace ought to give me a commission. But a lot of your pastelists are going to the Wallace paper. You see a lot of that now.
How about the Wallace pastels? Have you used them?
Are you asking me the Wallace pastel? You're talking about the moist pastels?
Have you used those?
I am not interested in those at all. She wanted me to try them. She sent me some samples. And I'm not interested in making pastels. They're kind of messy.
I would think so.
So if you want to make your own, that's fine. Okay. I think I pretty well got everything. Of course, you saw I got darker. It will get lighter as it dries a little bit too. One thing about this, if you don't get it all covered, you can cut back and, if you're
How long does that take to dry?
not too long.
Do you wait for it to dry before you start putting pastel on top of it?
Yes, I like to wait for it to dry before I can put pastel on it, because when you put pastel against the wet, it just goes in dark. It doesn't go in the color you're going to see because it gets wet, and so now you can't judge the color. So I like to work on it when it's dry, and it doesn't take very long. Okay, so now you want to know about the water. That's it, about the water. There's not a lot to it. You just have to do each color separately and simplify what you're going to do and put in your foundation colors for what you're going to do and go from there. And you're asking me, can I work on it? Yeah, I can right now. I'm just about there right now. I can, you can tell. All you got to do is put your hand up against it, or back your hand against it. You can feel it. Okay. Now we're going to go back into this thing. We're going to start working with some more color. I like color. I just love color. With 220 some colors that you get in this big set, you do not have enough color. It's true. You just can't find all the colors you want. So you make color. And you make it by layering, by putting one color on top of another. And then you get a new color when you do that. And so instead of 220 some colors, you have many, many more colors. How many? I have no idea. I think that the Rembrandt pastel, the consistency of the pastel is good for layering. Some of these beautiful soft pastels that are just beautiful things, when you put that color on it, it's the last one you're going to put on. You can't put anything, it's so soft. You cannot cover it with anything else. So if you use that, you want to be sure that's your final color. With the Rembrandts, you can do that. And if you try to layer and do that like you with the Rembrandts, they kind of smear around and they don't work as well, I don't think. This is considered a soft pastel, but it's not as soft as some of them that you have in the market. Okay, so I kind of like it for that reason. Now we'll get up here and we're going to have kind of a cloudy sky, some clouds, patchy clouds. Very similar things with pastels to what I do with oils. With oil, I will lay in a block-in color, and I'll block it in with thinner. And when I get it blocked into this stage, then I have to wait for it to dry a little bit. This dries pretty fast. And so when I do it with oils, that's the time I say, well, now is the time to take a coffee break, because we're waiting for it to dry. But with this, I don't get that privilege. And that's all right. We don't care. And I kind of like to work around. I don't like to finish any area at one time. I like to come back to it. Okay. Let's go down. Let's get into this background here a little bit. Let's try this. We're looking off. This is the part of the dune that the sand, the wind can blow through it. It can sculpt. It can blow around the grasses and do different things. And on the other side, it drops down, and you see some more dunes beyond. But it drops down and slides down, creeping 4 foot a year. And then beyond that, you have other dunes that are covered with trees and so forth. They have been taken over by vegetation. The living dunes are the ones that are going to be closer to the water where the wind can blow through and things like that can happen. Okay. That doesn't do a thing for me. Let's see what this does. Doesn't do anything for me until we do something else there. I think we're going to come back and get some more of our distance showing in here. And way back, we're going to let it be a little cooler yet. That doesn't do what I want. What do we want in there? Maybe this be better. Tree-covered areas in the background. Okay. By the way, this is my dust catcher. Keeps it out of your box. Okay. Let's come up here and start catching some. Pretty bright. Let me go into this with some distance first too. And we'll come back in here. That's too light. Let's get a little more intense, a little stronger in there. This is better yet. All right, let's go back, maybe come back over to this tree, which at this point is very dark. Starting to get some light on this tree here. I don't know what kind of tree this is. It's not, well, I really don't. The tree's out there, but it's not, I don't believe it's cottonwood because it doesn't have the characteristics of that. So I'm not sure what it is. But they have a lot of different kinds of trees in the dunes. You know, the ecosystems, ecology, the study of the ecosystem and so forth, is started right here in the dunes. That kind of a study. Henry Cole's, I don't remember what the date was, but way back, he's the one that started the idea of ecosystems and studying the plants and all the other things that happen. And he was kind of the founder of that kind of a thought, that kind of a study, I guess. I didn't know that. I read that just the other day. I heard of ecology and so forth, and I knew that he did a lot of this, but I didn't know that that was the start of it. And it was, unless the National Lakeshore is lying to me. And I don't think they are. Well, I don't like what that's doing. Let's go back and get some more. I want to get some texture going on here. Then I want to come back with some lighter. Okay, we need to go a different direction here. Let's come over with this. Get some light on this tree. I was an oil painter before I was ever a pastelist, and when I got all the pastels, I said, how do you find this color and how do you find that color? And it's a little different. All right, let's come down into the grasses and do a little bit with those. All right. Start with that, and let's work our way down here a little bit. I like to come down in these shadows and do some things with those. Too light. Let's try this. In fact, let's go over here. Yep, I like the other better. Okay, back to the dunes, the sand again. I want to get a tone on here. It's going to come in about in this value here. Tape these corners too. By the way, this is the same rig that I will take outdoors to work with too. Same thing. Okay. And then you have to back off. And see where you're going with these things. Am I in the way? Has everybody had a chance to see a little bit of what I'm doing here? Now you do? Okay, I'll back off and give you a little chance. Okay. Now we got to come back here and start tweaking this with various things and see what we can do with it. Okay. Well, they're getting there, I think. that's the same color I had in.
Design-wise, do you feel that with that tree being the only green?
Oh, it's going to have some adjustments. We're going to have to get a little green over here, and we'll have to get some fall colors into this too. Otherwise, they don't work together at all. Yeah. That's a good observation. It's almost too light. Getting up there to the sand color, I don't want it to do that. Well, we probably need to do a little bit with that you're talking about. First of all, I'm going to go into a little warmer green there. We'll have to get some other things in there besides just warmer green. And we might try a little of this in here too, because it's not just a summer tree. Whatever kind of tree it is, it's not summer. We have to get over in here, and we have to establish the fact that there are some green trees over in this area too. It's not all just fall trees. Kind of a combination. Usually in the fall anyway, there's always greens out there. No, this may not be what I want. Let's see what happens here. Not too bad. Little atmosphere into here, different places in this tree. Now let's come back with do things with the edges a little bit. to start seeing it through this tree a little bit. We don't have to have it so full that we can't see through it. And various things happening in this tree to give it more shape and form. Trees are fun to do. They can also be exasperating. You start doing these tree holes and you think you got something, and all at once it looks like you shot a cannon through it or something. What time did I start? 20 till? Oh, I got lots of time yet, then, don't I? You know what I'd like to have? I'd like to have just you got a glass of water or something? Or something that's... Okay. Now we still got to do things to pull this thing together because it's not there yet, for sure. But anyway, let's see what we got down in here. Quite often, I don't know whether that's too dark or not, maybe. You have people that walk around the dunes too. So the sand and the wind sculpts the dunes, and then we walk in the dunes and we trample the grasses, and that makes more sand below. Thank you. And so we have all these things that happen to the dunes, some of these things that probably shouldn't happen, but they do happen. Now, I have found in the dunes, you know, you go out in the lake and you watch the water, especially if there's not high waves, but there's just gentle waves rolling in, and out above these gentle waves, you'll see ripples in the water. You see ripples a lot of times. You ever see ripples in the sand? Yeah, it'll do it too. I don't know why, but it'll do it too. It'll look just like water. You'll see ripples in the sand. So sometimes you'll have ripples in sand, sometimes you'll have people that walk in the sand that disturb it, and all these different things happen. Anyway, we're going to come in here and start. We don't want this sand to be just undisturbed, you know. So, my wife reminded me, and I've seen it too, and I forgot about it, but sometimes you go out there where the sand is so flat, maybe there'll be some ripples or maybe not, but the wind will blow and it'll blow the grasses around, and the grasses will lean over against the sand and they'll make little designs in the sand, just when the grass is just doing it. I'm not going to do that. Hard enough to put ripples. Anyway, I think that'd be getting too detailed. Okay. This is pretty harsh. And then you soften that. Do something with it so it's not quite so intense a violet. So now we're going to change this tree, got all this green undertones, and then we're going to put some other tones on there. These leaves are starting to turn. There's some green showing through, but it's not all that, and it's losing its chlorophyll, I guess it is, and so it's starting to lose some of that. And so we have various things happening. And now I got to get back and look at it again. Okay. We'll come back and work on some of these other areas again. Pastels are a lot of fun to work with. They really are. And they're different than oils a little bit, but they're similar too. But they do make you think about color a little bit more.
Now, when you get finished, do you spray it, or do you?
Oh, I don't.
When you put it behind glass, make sure that it's a little distance, but make sure your mat is thick enough.
I make a distance. I don't spray it. Yeah, spraying it darkens it. There's always this debate to spray or not to spray, and some artists do, some don't. I don't. I found that if you spray it enough to really stick it down, it gets very dark, and you lose the vibrance of the pastel. All these little pieces of pastel, they're like little pieces that reflect in all different ways, and when you spray it heavy, they kind of melt down, they flatten out, and you lose that. And so you don't have that light bouncing around that you do with this. So I don't like to do that. I just make sure I have space. And I'll show you the space, how I do that in a little bit. Because I got a frame here, I'll show you what I do for space. Nowadays, you hear a lot about plein air painters. And I paint outdoors, but I guess I'm not strictly a plein air painter because I come in and work on them afterwards. And I give them credit. If that's what they do outdoors and it's done and they bring it in, they don't work on it again, I think some of them do. But if they don't, and they can get something good without working on it indoors, I give them credit for that, because that's a pretty good trick. One of the things that happens is your outdoor light is different than your indoor light. And of course our painting depends a lot on the light that's on it. You can't see the painting without the light that's on it, and that's going to determine what your painting looks like, the light that's on it. And so if you're judging by outdoor light and you bring it indoors, it looks different. sure. But not when I do a demonstration for a group, when I have to do it an hour and a half. Unless it was a little quick thing. I usually don't do that, no. But usually my figures have a little bit more to them than just a couple of lines of color to indicate a figure. I've got a dunes, a lake scene that's, well, it's 3 inches bigger all the way around than this, is what it is. It's 20 by 26. And it has the lake, and it has all these people out here, and it's just closer up and further away and further away and further away. I spent a long time on all these figures that are worked out. In the foreground and the background, they are just little pieces of color. And I spent a long time on that. In fact, I did not start drawing with the pastel. I ruined about 3 pieces of paper trying to do that with these thick pastels to try to make these figures. So I came back with a pencil and drew them, and I said, this is where I have to put it, and then I made sure that I put it there, and that worked.
But not pastel pencil.
No, I just use a regular pencil. Well, I could have, but I don't have pastel pencils. I chose not to use pastel pencils because I don't want to carry more things. And so I chose to stay away from pastel pencils in my work. But I used just a regular pencil, so I knew where to place the strokes and everything. And that worked out well, but I spent a lot of time on that. That would not be a demonstration I would do for a group. That's the kind you sweat over. The pencil lines didn't show. They were just a little guideline. And yeah, you didn't see the pencil line at all. It was just something so I could place it. It made me place it right. When I'm trying to place it and think, well, this is where it goes, and you got this thick piece of pastel, and trying to judge that is very hard to do. But when you have those little lines and you know where it goes, now you can put it where you want it and it works. That's what I found anyway. I ruined 3 pieces of paper. I was using the Ersta paper. And Ersta paper, you get to a certain point with it, and it fills up and you can't do anything with it. This, you can actually come in and take it off. You can even use an eraser on it and take it off and start again. Ersta papers, if I'm up with a tree up in a sky like this and I want to change that tree or take it out in Ersta paper, and I had it in here this strong, I could never cover it. This paper here, I can brush it off and I can erase it and cover it. This paper is amazing. And Kitty, you ought to give me a discount on paper. Kitty Wallace. But she doesn't know I'm doing all that for her today. But I'm sure I'm not the only one, because a lot of pastelists have gone to into the Wallace paper because it's such nice stuff. Okay, I want to pull together a little bit on these clouds. Back to the nice light color in the sky here. I could change that where it could be a little not quite so bright, it could be a little subtler, or it could be left that way, or I could come into that and just tone it a little bit. Probably wouldn't hurt anything if I did that. We'll find out. It could go either way. It could be brighter or it could be a little more subtle. I think maybe it looks a little bit more like atmosphere this way. Don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't say green, it says sky. That's, I think. Supposed to anyway. Okay, back to here. I made that darker, but I think maybe I'm gonna have to come back and then sometimes when you have these kind of clouds, you come down and a little lower, you have some darker clouds sometimes that come in here. I don't, that might be too dark. Let's see. Probably is. Let's go up one value. And you'll have some small clouds sometimes. They'll I don't know. Might be that should have been a little more intense color, not quite so gray. And now it's too dark. So we'll come back and adjust a little bit if we can. Work back and forth a little bit.
Are you using a violet on the shadow panel now?
Mm-hmm. Does it look real? Yeah. I got a lot of violets in here. Otherwise it wouldn't. Yeah, it ties in, yeah. Okay. I'm not sure how I did it on my original one, but I had more life in the grasses than I got right now. So let's see if we can. And by the way, I think I even stuck a little bit of greens in those grasses. I don't know whether that's all that real. Let's go down one value in that. Probably a little bit better. Come over here and see if I can, okay, here we go. Let's get a little darker with some of these on the shadowy side. Well, that went right into the background, so that's not good. You know what, I don't know what grade it was, grade school somewhere in an art class, and they were coloring things. They had a bird there, the color of a robin or something, I had crayons, and I'm coloring this robin, And I'm not putting in one color, I'm putting in lacing in all these different colors. I don't know why I was doing it. I was doing it that way anyway. And the teacher looked at that and she just raved about this. I've never been the same since. So, oh, let's see here now. This is a little bit intense up in here. Let's go back and the question is, how far do you carry this thing, say? When do you stop, say? And so now we're at this point where we say, well, when do we stop? Is it time to quit? I don't know whether it is or not, but you know what you do? There's several things you do, see? But what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to take it off here and put it in a frame and see what it looks like. Because that helps sometimes. And it'll tell you a lot of times what you need to do with it. If it's done or if it's not done. If it's not done, what do you need to do with it, see? So what do I need to do? Sign my name? Yes. Okay, I'll sign my name. Okay. Doesn't the frame do something? Isn't it great? Boy, we pray for frames.
You can tell us about the frame.
I'll do that, yes. What I do, because you asked me about how do I keep it away from the glass, it's double matted plus there's a foam core piece behind it. Okay. So that gives you extra space. And what happened was I was taking some of these art, I don't only do one art fair anymore, but I used to go do more art fairs. And I would take it, I double matted it, take it to the art fair, and it would get pushed up against the glass. And the next thing I got to take it apart, take all the pastel off the glass. Now I talked to my framer about that, and he said, why don't you put a spacer in there? So he suggested either between the two mats or behind it. Well, I like the idea behind it. Yes. And I did that, and I liked what it did, and I do them all that way now. So that's what I do.
Is that an extra thick frame though?
This is extra thick, yes. And this fits pretty well because it's very deep. I have some of those gold frames over there that aren't quite so deep. And by the way, I have foam core behind this, and I use that behind them all. And sometimes when you put it in there with a frame that's not quite so thick, it almost sticks out just above it a little bit. But you can put your clips or whatever you're going to put in there to hold it, you can put it in there and hold it. And just cover it with paper, and you're not sticking out that much. It's not going to show. And that's what I do. In fact, we can look at back of one of those and you can see. But how do I hinge it? Yeah. I use archival tape right here. All these pieces of tape. If I took that and put holding in place while I have a couple of
so the hinge
class.
Where your left hand is now, on the back of that.
No, it's hinged right to this.
Yes, but where your left hand is, where are you going to attach it?
I'm not.
It's going to always be on the back.
No, always be on this. Mm-hmm. Never hits this. I used to do it. I used to hinge them on this, but this is works so much better. And what I do is, on this, I'll mark. You can see the marks here. That's the actual size of the opening where you see these marks. And then I'll lay this on here, and I'll mark a little bit wider to make sure I've covered enough. So when you look back around, it's all covered. And that tells me where I'm going with it. So let me put my name on that. Now, the Art League gets the penny, but not the frame. Ooh, ooh. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, what are we going to use here? Let's try this. Midwest Pastel Society. Years back when I was doing art fairs, there was an artist in our area that did dunes. And he says of himself, he says he's a colorist. And I thought, this is great. I love color. I'm a colorist too. Well, I said this to one of the people in the art fair. I said, I'm a colorist. And he looked at my work and he said, you're not a colorist. And I thought about it and I said, yeah, he's right. I'm not a colorist. But I think since then, I've become more of a colorist. Yeah, but at that time, I probably was not. It was more, a little more tonal, not as much color. But I think maybe for colors, for him, was really wild color. Because, you know, colors can, there's things that are just really, really wild. Say, like the Faubus, right. Yeah, I couldn't think of it. Like the Faubus. Now, they're colorists. And I'm not that kind of colorist.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
You said that you do not go to as many fairs as you used to.
I just do one.
I see. May I ask, did you find that the setup in a fair was just too demanding and that sales were not proportionate to all the time and effort that goes into going to it?
You're asking me, and I'll repeat the question for people, whether did I find that the setup was too demanding and the sales were not good enough? Yes, to both. And also, now some people sell well at fairs, but I sold at fairs, but I didn't sell that well, and the setup is very demanding. And then especially when I got into doing more workshops and trying to juggle the workshops in between the schedule of the fairs and everything, it got to be impossible. And so I do one, I do the Chesterton Art Fair, which is close to me, and I keep that one, and that's the only one I keep. And that's questionable. I love the Chesterton Art Fair. I like to meet the people and talk to the people, but I'm getting older, and it's getting harder to do that. And I would rather put my energy into workshops and just painting. And so you kind of make a choice as you go along. And I try to go into galleries and do it through galleries and make some money through the teaching and whatever, and do it that way. And what I am supposed to do with this, now I've got this on here, what I'm supposed to do with this little thing here is I'm supposed to find a wastebasket and dump that. You got any place that I can put that? Okay. And very carefully, because you don't want to breathe this stuff.
Well, it's no worse than the chemicals I've been working with all day long, so.
Well, you wouldn't want to do it very often.
Mr. Hoffman was friends with two of our best artists, Mr. Vickery and Duchamp. They painted a lot together out in the end at the Dune. We talked about that over dinner tonight, so I thought you'd like to know that.
I have to correct you on that. We were friends. We didn't paint a lot together. I was friends with them, yes. We just didn't hook up to paint together. And I was always going this direction, they're going some other direction. But yes, I knew them for quite some time. So, any questions other than that?
What did you use to sign your signature out?
Oh, I used a pastel stick. I used, in this case, I used Mortimer Red, probably a number 7, if you're familiar with the Rembrandts. Yeah. Rembrandt pastels have designations that you need to know if you're working with. Maybe you already know this. A number 3 is the darkest one, and it has black in it. Number 5 is supposed to be the real color, not black, and no white, no black. And anything above 5, like 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever the designations are, is just more white in that particular color. So that's how they do them. Yes?
Mr. Hoffman, Hoffman, I'm wondering if you have any tips from your own experience for someone like many of us perhaps in the group who would like to get our paintings into galleries.
Oh, that's a hard question. My first gallery I went into, I'm still in there. I take things over there. Somebody said, it was my area over in Valparaiso, and somebody suggested I take some things over there. And I did, and they liked what I just took the paintings in and talked to them, and they wanted to show us. And that was my first one. I've been in some other galleries. Sometimes you can get into galleries from art fairs. Sometimes they come around and say, we would like to show you in our gallery. I really have not worked up a brochure or something you take to the gallery and say, I'd like to show in your gallery. Most of it has been, they see my work in a show or in an art fair or in a magazine, because I do some advertising in magazines. I've had some leads that way. I'm a little cautious about some of these galleries because some of them are far away. I have some work in a gallery in Naples, Florida right now. They're trying it out. I don't know whether they're going to sell for me or not. We're going to wait and see. But it's an established gallery, and I'm not too worried about them. So I sent some work down there. But I did Brown County, Indiana, the Guild, the Brown County Guild. I did submit work there to be into that gallery. That is a kind of like a co-op gallery. It's a little different than some of the co-ops that you're probably into here. They have a lot of money behind them, and the people that are in the gallery and man the gallery are paid through this corporation because they have a lot of money behind them. And in order to get in, you have to be voted in by the artists. And it gets kind of sticky sometimes because people that don't get in are unhappy with the people that are in, and the people that are in sometimes are unhappy that you're unhappy with them, but maybe the work is not that good, sometimes. Or sometimes it's political, you don't really want it to be. But it can be, too, say. So but anyway, it is a good gallery, and I've been in there, and that's one of my main galleries that I'm in. And I have to take 6 pennies down there every 6 months, take back whatever not sold, and take 6 new ones down there. You can't show the same thing over. So you have to at least produce 12 new works a year for that gallery. And in fact, I'm getting ready to take some down Sunday. And other galleries. The problem with it is, you get into a gallery, they may sell for you or they may not. And they may sell 1 or 2 they want some new work. Come back and get your work. We want some new work. Because they don't want to show the same thing for, you understand that. But if they're not selling everything you put in there, you can get a lot of work back. And so you can circulate a little bit from gallery to gallery if you're far enough apart.